Good evening, my weary friend. Wherever you are right now, curled beneath a blanket or stretched out on cool sheets, let the world outside soften its edges just for us. I'm here, speaking low and slow, the way moonlight itself would speak if it could lean close to your ear and whisper you into dreams. Tonight we're slipping far, far back, 3,500 years back, to a hidden cove on the northern coast of Crete where the Minoans still live quietly, gently, the way the sea itself taught them. You've had a long day, haven't you? I can almost feel the weight behind your eyes, the ache in your shoulders. Perfect. Because in about 10 minutes, you probably won't survive this level of calm. Your eyelids are already plotting a quiet rebellion, and I'm not going to stop them. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and let me know how your day has really been. Your worries, your exhaustion, or even a tiny joy that made you smile. I'm here to truly listen and offer the most sincere, heartfelt advice I can. Now, turn off the lights, take a deep, slow breath, let your tiredness melt away, and gently close your eyes. Let's drift together into tonight's dreamlike lands. And tomorrow morning, if you still remember, send me a message and tell me what you dreamed. You're walking barefoot along a narrow path of crushed seashells that crunch so delicately beneath you, like the softest bubble wrap made of moonlight. The air is warm and thick with salt, sliding over your skin the way silk sheets do when you first slip into bed. Ahead, the path dips, and suddenly the cove opens beneath you, silver, endless, and impossibly quiet. A crescent moon hangs low, pouring liquid mercury across the water, so bright it almost hums. The only sounds are the lazy hush of waves folding onto the shore and the faintest rhythmic creak, creak, creak of rope against wood. Down on the wet sand, 5 or 6 figures sit in a loose circle, knees drawn up, heads bowed in concentration. Their bronze skin gleams like polished chestnut under the moon. Long fishing nets spill across their laps in pale, ropey waterfalls. Every few seconds, a hand moves, slow, practiced, hypnotic, pulling a wooden shuttle through the mesh with a soft rasp that travels straight into the base of your skull and loosens something tight you didn't even know was knotted. The breeze shifts, and you catch the scent. Salt, yes, but also crushed wild thyme from the cliffs, warm cedar from a tiny fire someone has coaxed from driftwood, and beneath it all, the cool mineral breath of the sea itself. Your shoulders drop another inch. The path curves down, shells giving way to cool, damp sand that squishes between your toes like thick velvet. You're so tired the ground feels like it's gently pulling you in, the way a hug does when you didn't realize how much you needed one. No one has noticed you yet. They don't need to. The night itself has already decided you belong here. A low wave rolls in, fizzing softly as it spreads a lace of foam almost to your feet, then sighs back into darkness. The sound is so intimate, it feels like the ocean just whispered your name and promised everything will be all right. You stand there, swaying a little, breathing in time with the tide. The creak of rope grows slower, slower, matching the rhythm of your own pulse as it begins to settle. Somewhere inside your chest, a long-held breath finally lets go, and you feel yourself sinking deliciously, irresistibly into the hush that wraps this cove like the softest blanket ever woven. And still, no one speaks. They don't need to. The moon is doing all the talking tonight, and it's telling you in the gentlest possible voice to come closer. You take one more step, and the damp sand yields beneath your heel with the softest, wettest kiss. Schlup, like the sea itself just sighed your name and welcome. The little circle of fishermen still hasn't looked up, yet somehow they know you're here. One of them, older than the cliffs behind him, lifts his head slowly. Moonlight slides across the weathered bronze of his face and catches on the tiny lapis lazuli beads hanging at his throat. Two delicate bees, wings outstretched, forever flying toward an invisible goddess. His eyes are the color of deep water at noon, and they hold yours without hurry, without demand, the way the tide holds the moon. He exhales, and you feel the warmth of it brush your cheek even from 10 paces away. Salt and cedar smoke, and something sweeter, like crushed figs left in the sun. Then he rises, joints creaking like old olive wood, and unclasps the cloak from his own shoulders. It is the color of storm clouds at twilight, dyed with the sacred murex purple that takes 1,000 sea snails to make a single handful. The hem is worked with tiny double axes no longer than your thumbnail, stitched in thread so fine it glimmers like spider silk. The cloth is still warm from his body, and when he drapes it over your shoulders, the weight settles across your back like the gentlest hand pressing you downward, downward, into rest. His fingers brush the nape of your neck as he adjusts the fold, calloused yet impossibly tender, and you feel the faint rasp of sea salt on his skin, the tiny grit that never quite washes away. The cloak smells of cedar smoke, of sun-baked wool, of nights spent under this same moon, mending nets while the Great Mother watched from above. You catch the embroidered labrys against your collarbone, and it feels cool, almost liquid, as though the metal itself remembers being lightning once. He doesn't smile with his mouth, but the corners of his eyes crease in a way that feels like the softest laughter you've ever been given. Then he tips his chin toward the circle of lamplight on the sand, an invitation so quiet it's barely more than the memory of a word. You follow, because your legs have already decided they belong to the night now, not to you. Each footfall makes the sand sigh beneath you, cool grain sliding between your toes like sugar. The cloak swings heavy and warm, brushing the backs of your calves with every step. Ahead, the little fire crackles once, pop, and a ribbon of blue smoke curls upward, carrying the scent of burning olive cuts and wild thyme. You can hear the nets now, the slow, rhythmic rasp of hemp on hemp, the soft clack of wooden mesh needles kissing each other, the occasional wet slap when someone lifts a section and lets it fall again across their knees. When you reach the edge of the lamplight, the old fisherman sinks back down with a sigh that sounds like the island itself settling. He pats the sand beside him twice, gently, and the sound is so soft it feels like someone stroking your hair. You lower yourself, and the ground receives you the way only warm sand can, cradling, forgiving, already pulling the day's ache out through the soles of your feet. The cloak pools around you, heavy and protective, and the double axes along the hem catch the firelight in tiny golden winks. Someone shifts to make room, and you feel the faint heat of another body, the brush of a bare arm dusted with salt crystals that glitter like crushed stars. No one speaks. They don't need to. The night is speaking for them, and it's saying, "Stay, stay, stay," in the voice of waves, of rope, of cedar smoke, curling slow and sweet into the dark. Your eyelids are already growing heavy, deliciously heavy, as though the cloak itself is made of sleep. You sink deeper into the sand, and it gives beneath you with a slow, luxurious exhale. Shh, like the earth itself is breathing you in. The cloak settles over your shoulders, heavy as a promise, and the tiny embroidered labrys along its edge rest against your collarbones like cool metal kisses. All around you now, the fisherman's hands move through the pale nets in perfect, unhurried silence. There is no hurry here. The moon is patient, and so are they. Listen, can you hear it? The soft rasp of hemp sliding over hemp. Shh. Steady as a heartbeat you could fall asleep inside. Each time a wooden shuttle glides through the mesh, it makes the gentlest click against the knots. A sound so small yet so intimate, it feels like someone is tapping directly on the door of your thoughts, asking them kindly to leave. The rope itself is coarse, sun-bleached, smelling of salt and old storms. When a fisherman lifts a section to test the tension, the fibers sigh and settle again with a faint papery rustle that tingles down your arms. Watch the way their fingers move. No wasted motion, only centuries of muscle memory shaped by the sea. The knots they tie are not simple knots. They are spirals, labyrinths, the curling arms of octopuses that once wrapped around the prows of ships and guided them home. Every loop is a prayer to the Potnia of the deep, the lady who was both womb and grave. You can almost see her in the patterns, the double axe that guards every doorway, the eight-armed embrace that cradles the world. The nets glow faintly in the moonlight, and when the breeze lifts them, you catch the soft clatter of tiny shell weights sewn along the bottom edge. Clink, 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 like wind chimes made of bone and pearl. One fisherman, younger, with hair still black as wet obsidian, lets a finished section spill across his bare knees. The motion makes the sand hiss softly beneath the weight, and the sudden warmth of his skin radiates toward you through the cool night air. He turns the net so you can see. There, woven in darker cord, is a leaping bull, horns curved like the moon itself, caught mid-vault over a wave. Beside it, a dolphin arcs in perfect mirror, tail flicking silver droplets that were never really there. The stitches are so fine they seem to breathe. Another man, older, with arms roped in faded blue tattoos of serpents, lifts a mesh needle carved from olive wood. He threads it slowly, shh, through a torn loop, and the sound slides straight into your ears like warm oil. His knuckles are scarred and salt-cracked, yet the way he cradles the net is tender, almost loving, the way you might hold a sleeping child. When he pulls the knot tight, there is the faintest creak of fiber resisting, then surrendering, then sighing into perfect tension. You feel that surrender inside your own chest. The fire settles lower, sending up a ribbon of cedar-sweet smoke that drifts across your face and strokes your cheeks like invisible fingers. Tiny sparks float upward, pop, pop, dying into the dark before they can reach the stars. Each spark leaves behind the scent of resin and distant thunder. Your breathing has matched theirs now, slow, tidal, inevitable. In, out, in, out. The same rhythm as the soft tug and release of rope through calloused palms. You are so close you can hear the almost imperceptible grit of sand cut between fibers as the nets shift. You can feel the faint vibration of every knot being born, traveling through the ground and into your spine like the softest massage. The moon pours down thicker now, syrupy, pooling in the hollows of your collarbones, weighing your eyelids with silver. The labyrinth patterns seem to move when you're not looking directly at them, curling, uncurling, guiding something loose inside you safely toward the center where everything is quiet. And still the hands move. Shh. Click. Shh. Click. A lullaby older than language, older than sorrow. You are inside the sound now, wrapped in it the way the nets wrap the night. There is nothing else, only this gentle, endless weaving that is slowly, stitch by patient stitch, mending something in you that you didn't know was torn. A soft rustle beside you, like dry leaves deciding to be kind, and a small wooden bowl is pressed into your hands. It is still warm from the fire, the cedar grain silky under your palms, and the heat seeps into your fingers the way forgiveness seeps into an old wound. Someone has torn a barley cake in two. The halves are placed gently on your lap, the breaks still exhaling tiny curls of steam that rise and kiss your chin before vanishing. The surface of the cake is stamped with a perfect 8-pointed star, the sign of rebirth, of the goddess who dies each autumn and returns with the saffron crocuses. When you lift it closer, the scent floods you. Toasted grain, warm honey, a breath of wild thyme carried from the cliffs. The crust crackles faintly under your fingertips, the sound so delicate it could be a secret. You tear a piece. The inside is soft, almost moist, and when it touches your tongue, the flavor spreads like slow sunlight. Nutty, faintly floral, with a lingering sweetness that feels like someone just whispered, "You are safe," directly into your bloodstream. A second bowl follows, terracotta, cool on the outside, warm within, filled with watered wine the color of garnets held to candlelight. Before it reaches your lips, the fisherman beside you tips a few drops onto the sand, a silent libation. You watch the earth drink it greedily, the dark stain spreading in the shape of a tiny labyrinth. Only then does he pass the bowl to you. The wine touches your lips cool at first, then blooms into resin and crushed grapes, a hint of pine, a memory of high mountain snowmelt. It slides down your throat like liquid dusk, loosening every knot the day tied in you. You can hear the faint glug-glug as the bowl empties, the soft smack of your own lips when you forget to be quiet. No one minds. The fire settles with a sigh, sending up a ribbon of blue smoke that smells of sacred snakes coiled around hearth altars you will never see, yet somehow already know. Another fisherman leans forward to feed the flames a handful of olive pits. They land with a muted clatter and immediately begin their tiny song, tick-tick pop, soft as distant rain on a roof you loved as a child. Each pop releases a puff of fragrant smoke that drifts across your face, brushing your eyelashes like moth wings. The warmth reaches your cheeks now, gentle, steady, the way a mother's palm cups a fevered forehead. You feel your spine soften against nothing and everything at once. Someone shifts, and a knee brushes yours, bare skin, salt-dusted, radiating the day's stored heat. The contact is brief, accidental, yet it lingers like a note held on an unseen lyre. You realize the cloak has slipped from one shoulder. Cool night air kisses the exposed skin. Then the wool slides back into place, tucked carefully by an unseen hand. The embroidered labrys presses over your heart again, cool metal warming quickly against your heartbeat. The barley cake is gone. You didn't notice finishing it. Only crumbs remain, clinging to your fingertips like tiny golden stars. When you lick them away, the taste is faintly of the sea, of cedar, of the smoke now curling lazy figure eights above the dying fire. Your belly feels full in the way only simple things can make you full, quietly, completely, without demand. The wine bowl is taken from your loose grasp, set down with the softest clink against a stone. Someone's hand, broad, scarred, impossibly gentle, rests for a moment on your wrist, thumb brushing the inside where your pulse is already slowing to match the tide. The touch says, "Stay, stay, stay," without a single word. You exhale, and the sound is long, shaky, almost a sob, except it feels like relief instead of sorrow. The fire is only embers now, glowing like the last thoughts of a god who has decided to sleep. Each breath you take tastes of honey, smoke, and the faint iron of starlight. The nets are stilled, the hands are stilled. Only the sea keeps speaking, soft and endless, rolling its syllables over the sand and into your bones. You are being held by scents and sounds and silences older than grief. And for the first time in longer than you can remember, you are not holding anything back. You are floating inside the hush now, weightless, yet the sand still cradles every curve of your body like it was poured there just for you. The embers have settled into a soft red heartbeat, and the moonlight has thickened into something you could almost drink. Someone shifts beside you, barely a breath of movement, and a finished net unfurls across your lap like a cool, heavy waterfall made of rope and starlight. Feel it. The hemp is rough and sun-bleached, yet the moment it touches your skin, it softens, as though the fibers themselves recognize you and decide to be gentle. Tiny shelled discs sewn along the lower edge clink together with the faintest chime, tink, 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 like glass raindrops falling through a dream. Your fingertips find a pattern woven in darker cord, a griffin with wings spread wide, beak open in silent triumph, talons curled around an unseen labyrinth. Next to it, a dolphin leaps in perfect mirror, tail flicking silver droplets that were never really there. The stitches are so fine they seem to breathe with the tide. Closer now, you can hear the soft hiss of threads sliding through mesh when the fisherman beside you makes a final adjustment. Shh, shh, like silk stockings gliding down an endless leg. Salt crystals sparkle on the cords, catching the moon and scattering it across your forearms in tiny cool kisses. Each crystal lands and melts against your warmth, leaving the faintest prickle of cold that melts into pleasure. The breeze lifts a loose corner of the net. It brushes your cheek with the texture of sun-dried seaweed in distant storms, and you smell the deep places where octopuses dream. Look, there, in the center panel, the sacred knot. 8 loops that twist into one another, forming a flower, a star, a womb. It is the knot that binds sky to earth, the one the priestesses tie in their hair when they dance for the goddess on the first night of spring. The fisherman traces it once with a calloused thumb, slow, reverent, and you feel the vibration travel through the net, through your thighs, straight into the base of your spine where something ancient loosens and sighs. Another pattern, a double axe so perfectly woven it looks ready to leap off the mesh and cleave the night in two. Its blades are outlined in tiny beads of red coral, each bead warm from someone's palm. When you lean closer, the coral smells faintly of blood and pomegranates, of offerings poured at dusk. The net shifts again, and the axe brushes your lips, accidental yet deliberate in the way dreams are deliberate. The coral is smooth and sun-warmed. It tastes of salt and secrets when you let your tongue touch it without thinking. The fisherman lifts the entire panel so the moonlight can pour through the holes. Thousands of tiny silver shafts fall across your face, your closed eyelids, your parted lips. It feels like being kissed by every star that ever watched over Crete. You can hear the soft creak of the net stretching, the quiet pop of a single fiber giving way and then relaxing again. The sound is intimate, almost indecent in its tenderness. Somewhere beyond the circle, a nightjar calls once, liquid, mournful, perfect. The sound drips down the cliffs and lands in the net like a final bead of dew. The fisherman folds the panel gently, carefully, the way you would fold a sleeping child's hands. The motion makes the shell discs whisper again. Shh, shh, shh. Until the only thing left moving is the slow rise and fall of your own chest, and the tide that keeps promising to carry you somewhere softer than sleep. The net settles back across your lap, heavier now, as though it has gathered the whole night into its mesh. You are inside the pattern, now inside the griffin's wings, inside the dolphin's leap, inside the sacred knot that has already begun untying every worry you carried here. The moon leans lower, pressing its cool thumb against your forehead, and the last thing you feel is the faint, rhythmic tug of someone testing the tension. Tug. Release. Tug. Release. Until your heartbeat learns the rhythm and forgets it ever knew any other. The old fisherman with the lapis bees rises first. The movement is so slow it feels like the night itself is lifting him. Sand cascades from his knees in a soft, silvery whisper, and he places 2 fingers, light as moth feet, against your elbow. The touch is barely there, yet your body understands it is time. You rise with him, the heavy cloak sliding from your shoulders into waiting hands that fold it with the reverence usually saved for temple linen. The air kisses the places the wool has kept warm. Cool, salt-laden, it strokes your bare arms like a promise that you will not be cold for long. He leads you away from the dying embers, barefoot across sand that has given up every trace of the day's heat, and now feels like walking on moon-dusted velvet. Each footfall makes the faintest shoo as the grains shift and settle again, reluctant to let you go. Behind you, the others remain seated, heads bowed over their nets, silhouettes carved from obsidian and starlight. Ahead, the village sleeps beneath a sky so thick with stars it looks bruised. The path climbs gently between low stone walls, still exhaling the sun's memory, warm, almost hot against your palm when you trail your fingers along them. Thyme grows in the cracks. Whenever your calf brushes the leaves, they release a sudden puff of perfume that drifts into your lungs and stays there, sweet and medicinal. Somewhere a goat bell gives one sleepy clink, then thinks better of it and falls silent. A cricket saws a single slow note against the dark, then another, timing its song to the rhythm of your breath. You pass the first house. Its doorway is framed by two faded pillars painted with spiraling octopuses, arms curling protectively around the threshold. On the step sits a small terracotta goddess, no taller than your hand, arms raised in eternal blessing. A drop of honey still clings to her painted lips, gleaming like a tiny amber tear. The scent, honey, saffron, warm milk, rises and wraps around your face so tenderly you almost sway. Someone has tucked a fresh sprig of basil behind her ear. The bruised leaves release their green, peppery breath every time the night wind stirs. Further on, a clay bowl lies on a flat roof, horns curved toward the moon like an offering. Moonlight pools in the hollow between the horns, liquid silver that trembles whenever your footsteps send the faintest vibration through the ground. You can hear the soft creak of roof beams cooling, the occasional pop of settling mud brick, the hush of 1,000 years breathing in and out with the village itself. Between houses, narrow alleys open like dark throats. From one drifts the scent of crushed olives still fermenting in clay jars. From another, the faint metallic tang of a bronze mirror cooling on a windowsill. A cat, black as wet obsidian, watches you from a wall, eyes reflecting the moon in perfect Minoan double-axe shapes. It blinks once, slowly, and the motion feels like permission to keep walking. Your guide pauses beside a tiny courtyard shrine. A single oil lamp burns inside a pierced clay lantern, the flame so still it might be painted on the night. On the altar lies a single fig split open to reveal its crimson heart, and beside it a miniature ship carved from olive wood, its sail no bigger than a moth's wing. The lamp's glow trembles across the ship's tiny labyrinth painted on the sail, and for a moment the pattern seems to move, threads of light weaving and unweaving themselves across the wood. The fisherman rests his hand on the warm stone rim of the shrine. His palm makes the softest rasp against the surface, like dry leaves over marble. Then he turns and continues, and you follow because the path feels inevitable now, as though the village itself is a sleeping animal and you are walking along the gentle rise and fall of its breathing. Overhead, the Milky Way spills across the sky like milk from the goddess's own breast. Every star is a note in a lullaby older than sorrow, and you are learning the melody with every slow step. The ground beneath your soles has become softer than memory, warmer than forgiveness. You could lie down right here between the time-scented walls and the night would simply fold itself over you like the softest blanket ever spun from moonlight and salt. But the fisherman walks on, and you follow, deeper into the breathing dark where even the shadows have learned how to be gentle. The path curves downward again, and the sea finds your ears before your eyes find it. A low, steady murmur, like the village itself is dreaming aloud. Your guide slows, then stops at the edge of the tide line, where the sand turns dark and glossy, reflecting the moon in long, trembling ribbons. There, half-beached on the wet slope, lies the smallest boat you have ever seen, barely longer than 3 men lying head to toe. Its hull is painted with faded bands of crimson and black, the colors the Minoans love, because they are the colors of life and of earth after rain. You feel the trouble before you see it. The boat's single sail hangs limp from a short mast, and even in the silver light you can make out the tear, a ragged smile across the very center, right where the painted labyrinth should be whole. The sacred pattern is split in two, the threads curling loose like the unraveled veins of a leaf. Without that labyrinth intact, the little boat cannot thread the invisible path the goddess weaves each night across the water. It cannot find its way home if dawn surprises it beyond the third wave. Your guide crouches. The movement makes the damp sand sigh beneath his knees. He touches the torn edge with one finger, slow, almost apologetic, and the sailcloth gives a tired, papery rustle, as though it is ashamed of its wound. The sound is heartbreakingly soft, like an old letter being opened after centuries. Salt water has stiffened the fabric. When he lifts the torn flap, it crackles faintly, releasing a breath that smells of deep water and distant storms. He looks at you then, the first time he has truly met your eyes since the cloaked greeting. In them you see the weight of tomorrow, the quiet worry that sits on every shoulder here. This boat belongs to the youngest among them, barely more than a boy, though you have not seen his face tonight. Tomorrow he is meant to take it alone to the narrow fishing grounds where the octopus hide among the sacred rocks. If the sail is not mended, he cannot go. If he cannot go, mouths will stay empty, and the goddess does not favor those who ignore her patterns. A wave slides in, cool fingers curling around the boat's stern. The hull rocks once, creak, and settles again, with a wet, mournful kiss against the sand. Tiny phosphorescent creatures caught in the foam glow for a heartbeat, sketching faint blue labyrinths that vanish as quickly as they appear. The fisherman's hand remains on the torn cloth, palm open, as though he could heal it with warmth alone. You feel the chill rising from the wet sand into your own calves now, a slow, patient seep that says the night is growing older and the moon will not wait. He rises, joints creaking like old rigging, and turns back toward the village. But before he takes a step, he rests 2 fingers, light as moth wings, on your forearm again. The touch is brief, yet it carries the weight of a question no voice will ever ask. You feel it settle in your chest, warm and heavy as a river stone. Will you stay long enough to help mend what has been torn? Another wave sighs in, higher this time, curling around your ankles with cool, silky insistence. The torn sail flutters once in the breeze. Shh, flap, shh, flap, like a wounded bird trying to remember flight. The labyrinth painted on it is split clean through the heart, and the 2 halves do not match anymore. The night holds its breath. And you, your heart already softer than you thought possible, nod once, so slightly that only the moon and the old fisherman see it. You kneel together on the wet sand, and the cold seeps up through your knees like slow forgiveness. The tide has retreated just far enough to leave a perfect, glossy mirror behind. Your reflections tremble beneath you, broken into silver shards every time a wave breathes out. The torn sail is spread across your laps now, heavy with night dew and salt, smelling of deep water and the faint iron of old storms. The fisherman places a small cedar box between you. When he lifts the lid, the hinges sigh the softest cedar sigh, and the scent of resin and warm wood drifts up to cradle your face. Inside lie bronze needles no longer than your smallest finger, each one shaped like a tiny double axe. Their edges catch the moonlight and throw it back in thin, shivering lines. Beside them, coils of thread dyed the color of crushed murex, royal purple so dark it drinks the light. The thread has been soaked in the blood of sea snails sacred to the moon. When you lift a length, it feels cool and slightly slippery, like the skin of a grape just before it bursts. He hands you a needle. The metal is surprisingly warm, as though it has been waiting in someone's palm for exactly this moment. You slide it between your fingers and feel the minute ridges of the labrous handle press gentle patterns into your skin. Then he threads your needle for you, slow, deliberate, drawing the purple cord through the eye with a faint wet shh that makes the tiny hairs on your arms rise in pleasure. You begin. The first stitch is the hardest. The heavy sailcloth resists, stiff with salt, and the bronze needle kisses the fabric with a muted metallic tick before it slides through. When you pull the thread after it, there is the softest resistance, shrip, then release, and the sound is so intimate you feel it behind your eyes. Each new stitch makes its own small sound, shh, steady as breathing, steady as the tide that keeps stroking the hull beside you with cool liquid fingers. The wet sand beneath your knees has warmed now from your bodies. It cradles you like memory foam from the gods, molding itself to every shift of weight. He works opposite you, mirroring your rhythm. Together you move in perfect silence, reach, pierce, draw, tug. Reach, pierce, draw, tug. The purple thread glides through the tear like dark water finding its old path. Every time you pull a stitch tight, the cloth sighs and settles, as though it is relieved to be whole again. Moonlight drips down the bronze needles and runs along the thread in thin silver veins. You can feel the faint vibration of each tug traveling through the fabric, through your fingertips, into your wrists, pooling warm and heavy in your elbows. A wave slides in closer, curling around the boat's hull with a long, luxurious shh. The hull rocks gently, rocking you with it, and the torn sail lifts for a moment on the breeze, flap, shh, flap, before settling back across your thighs like a tired animal, finally allowing itself to be stroked. Tiny drops of sea mist land on your forearms, cool kisses that evaporate almost instantly and leave the faintest prickle of salt behind. Stitch by stitch, the labyrinth reappears. The two severed halves creep toward each other, guided by your hands and his, until the sacred spiral meets itself again in the center. When the final thread is drawn through and knotted, 3 tiny knots, each one a whispered prayer. The old fisherman rests his palm flat over the mended place. The sailcloth is warm now, warmer than the night air, as though the goddess herself has leaned down and breathed life back into the pattern. You sit back on your heels. The tide has crept closer. Cool water licks at your calves, then retreats with a soft, satisfied sigh. The little boat rocks again. Creak, shh, creak, shh. Already eager, already dreaming of morning. The moon hangs low and full, pouring approval across the newly whole labyrinth in a slow silver wash that feels like absolution. Your hands are trembling, but not from cold. The bronze needle rests across your lifeline, still warm, still humming faintly with the memory of every stitch. You close your fist around it gently, and the tiny double axe presses its shape into your palm like a promise you will carry long after the night forgets your name. You remain kneeling on the damp sand, the mended sail spread between you like a sleeping animal that has finally stopped flinching. The moon has slipped lower, so close now it feels as if you could lean forward and rest your forehead against its cool cheek. The tide has turned playful. Every 7th wave creeps a little farther up the shore, licking the edge of the sail with a soft, wet kiss, before retreating with a sigh that sounds almost grateful. Then it happens. The next wave arrives glowing, not reflected light, not borrowed silver, but a deep, living blue that ignites from within. The water breaks over the sand in slow motion, and suddenly the entire cove is lit from beneath. Thousands upon thousands of tiny plankton blooming into cold fire. They swirled around the boat's hull in spirals and leaping arcs, painting the wet wood with leaping bulls, diving dolphins, griffins spreading wings of pure light. The patterns last only a heartbeat before the wave pulls back, but in that heartbeat, the goddess herself is dancing on the water. Another wave follows, brighter still. The retreating foam leaves a lacework of blue fire across the sand, and where it touches the mended sail, the fresh purple stitches ignite. Each one flares into a tiny star, then fades, then flares again, until the entire labyrinth is glowing softly, breathing with the sea. You feel light on your skin like cool silk being drawn across your arms, your throat, the backs of your closed eyelids. The air smells suddenly of ozone and crushed almonds, of temple incense carried on a wind that has never known sorrow. Your hands are still resting on the sail. Through the cloth you feel the bioluminescence pulsing, soft throb, in perfect rhythm with your own heart. The fisherman opposite you has gone very still. Even his breathing seems suspended. Moonlight and sea fire mingle on his face, turning the lines around his eyes into delicate silver rivers. A single tear of light clings to his lower lashes, trembles, and falls. Where it lands on the sail, it blooms into a tiny 8-pointed star that lingers longer than the rest. Wave after wave rolls in now, each one brighter, each one shaping itself into living icons, a bull vaulting over the moon's reflection, a double axe spinning slowly like a slow-motion wheel of fate, an octopus whose arms curl into the sacred knot you have only just retied. The water makes no sound louder than the softest kiss, yet the silence feels enormous, as though the entire cove is holding its breath inside a seashell. You lean forward without meaning to. The glowing foam rises to meet your fingertips, cool and effervescent, fizzing gently like starlight champagne. Where it touches the bronze needle, still cradled in your palm, the metal drinks the light and holds it, glowing like a tiny moon of its own. You press the needle to the final knot, just once, reverent, and the glow flares brighter, then sinks into the thread and vanishes, leaving the labyrinth darker than before, yet somehow more complete. The sea exhales one last long, shimmering breath. The light fades as gently as it came, retreating with the wave until only ordinary moonlight remains. But the sail remembers. When you lift your hands, the fresh stitches are faintly warm, and if you look very closely, you can still see the ghost of a dolphin swimming beneath the surface of the cloth, slow and serene. The old fisherman places his palm over the center of the labyrinth, bows his head until his forehead almost touches the sail, and stays there. The gesture is so private you feel you should look away, yet you cannot. After a long moment, he lifts his face. The moonlight has washed every line clean. For an instant, he looks no older than the boy who will sail this boat at dawn. A final wave curls in, quieter than all the others. It laps once at the hull, and then withdraws forever, taking the last of the blue fire with it. The cove returns to ordinary silver and shadow, yet everything feels lighter, as though the night itself has been mended, along with the sail. You stay kneeling a little longer, letting the cool, healed silence settle over your shoulders like the cloak you were given earlier. The labyrinth is whole, the goddess has seen, and tomorrow the little boat will find its way home. The night has thinned to a cool, trembling veil. Far out on the horizon, the first suggestion of dawn is only a thought, not yet color, only the promise that color will soon be allowed. The little boat waits beside you, hull gleaming with leftover dew and the faint memory of blue fire. The mended sail hangs loose from its short mast, the labyrinth at its heart so perfect now it seems to breathe. The old fisherman rises first. Sand cascades from his knees in a soft silver rush, and he places one broad hand on the prow. The wood is still cool from the night, yet when his palm touches it, you hear the faintest answering hum, as though the boat recognizes the hand that helped save it. Two others join him, shadows detaching themselves from the greater dark, and together they lean into the hull. The boat slides forward over the wet sand with a long, luxurious shh, a sound so intimate it feels like the shore itself is whispering goodbye and thank you at the same time. You stand with them. The retreating tide has left the sand firm and glossy. Each footfall leaves a perfect print that immediately begins to fill with black water, shining like liquid mirrors. When the prow kisses the sea, the water greets it with a soft, welcoming smack, then curls around the wood in delicate liquid ribbons. The boat rocks once, twice, settling into its element the way a sleeper sighs when the perfect position is finally found. The old fisherman motions you to the stern. You step in. The hull is narrow. Your bare feet find warm, smooth cedar, worn silky by generations of other bare feet. A faint scent of tar and olives rises, the smell of every safe return. The others push off gently, and the boat glides forward on the last breath of night. Cool water laps at the sides, lick, 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 each kiss leaving a trembling necklace of tiny phosphorescent beads that wink out one by one. You sit low, knees drawn up, the mended sail brushing your shoulder like a shy animal. The fisherman takes the single sheet in one hand and lets the night breeze catch it. The labyrinth billows, fills, and the boat answers at once. A soft creak of timber, a sigh of rope, a sudden forward lean so gentle it feels like falling upward. The sail sings its quiet note, flup, 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 steady as a sleeping heart. Out here the sea is black mirror glass. Your reflection floats beneath you, broken and remade with every ripple. The moon, now a thin silver blade, lays a trembling path straight to the edge of the world. The boat follows it without hurry, the hull cutting the water so cleanly you hear only the faintest liquid whisper along the planks. Shh, shh, the sound of secrets being shared between wood and wave. A breath of wind shifts, cooler, carrying the first scent of morning, wet stone, distant goat, crushed marjoram from the cliffs. The sail flutters, then fills again, stronger. The boat lifts, settles, lifts, a rocking so tender it feels like being cradled by the goddess herself. Somewhere far behind you, the village is only a memory of warmer sand, but ahead, the path of moonlight is perfect, unbroken, leading exactly where it must. Then it comes, a single deep roar from the cliffs above the cove. Low, resonant, rolling down the rocks like thunder, remembering it can also be gentle. A sacred bull, awake on the high pastures, answering the mended labyrinth. The sound vibrates through the hull, through the soles of your feet, through the center of your chest, and settles there, warm and heavy as a promise kept. The fisherman's eyes crease in the closest thing to a smile the night has allowed. The boat rocks once more, satisfied, and glides a slow, perfect circle. 3 times widdershins, the way offerings are always turned. The labyrinth sail catches the last of the moon and throws it across the water in trembling pieces. Everything is whole. Everything is quiet. You drift there, suspended between night and not yet morning, until the sea itself seems to exhale one long, contented breath that rocks you like a cradle. The test is over. The little boat will carry its boy safely at dawn, and the goddess has seen and approved. The fisherman lets the sheet go slack. The sail sighs and folds itself against the mast like a bird tucking wings after a long flight. The boat turns, obedient, dreamy, and begins the slow glide home on the dying breeze, carrying you with it, as gently as any lullaby ever carried a child to shore. The shore receives you with the softest possible collision, just a hush of cedar against wet sand, a final liquid kiss along the hull, and then stillness. The sky has begun to thin, The moon is only a pale fingernail now, clinging to the cliff's edge as though reluctant to leave the party. The little boat rocks once more, grateful, and settles. You step over the side into ankle-deep water so cool it feels like stepping into melted starlight. The chill climbs your calves in slow, silky ribbons, then fades into warmth the moment you reach the sand. They're all there, the quiet circle of fishermen, waiting without having seemed to move at all. Dawn has not yet colored their faces, but the night has left them luminous. Someone has coaxed the embers back to life while you are gone. A small fire breathes low and orange, releasing curls of cedar and olive pit smoke that drift across your salt-stung cheeks like gentle fingers, wiping away the last of the world's weight. A terracotta bowl is pressed into your hands, warm, almost hot. Inside, smoked fish flakes apart at the mere memory of touch, buttery and faintly sweet, tasting of oak smoke and far horizons. Each piece melts on your tongue with a soft sigh you feel more than hear. Next come honeyed figs, so ripe the skins have split to reveal their crimson hearts, glistening like tiny jewel boxes. When you bite, the honey spills slow and golden, coating your lips, dripping to your chin in a lazy thread that someone, you never see who, wipes away with a thumb rough as driftwood and infinitely tender. The taste is almost too much. Salt, smoke, honey, the faint metallic memory of bronze on your fingers from the needle. Every flavor arrives wrapped in gratitude so thick you could rest your head on it. The fire crackles once, pop, sending a ribbon of sparks upward that die before they reach the fading stars. Someone shifts closer. A bare shoulder brushes yours, radiating stored warmth, and stays there, a silent anchor. Then the old fisherman with the lapis bees kneels in front of you. From the folds of his cloak he draws something so small it disappears between his calloused palms. He opens his hand slowly, the way you open a shell to see if the creature inside still lives. Resting on the weathered lifeline of his palm lies a double axe no longer than your smallest fingernail, hammered from gold so thin it is almost translucent. It catches the fire's glow and turns it into liquid sunset. He takes your right hand, turns it palm up, and lays the tiny labrys across your heart line. The metal is warm, impossibly warm, as though it has been carried next to someone's skin for years, waiting for this exact moment. Before you can close your fingers, he adds something else. A single fig shaped like a swollen poppy pod, sticky with honey and dusted with crushed almonds. The scent rises, opulent, drowsy, the smell of forgetting every sorrow you ever borrowed. He folds your fingers over both gifts, presses once, gentle, final, then sits back on his heels. The others lean in, not crowding, simply forming a living circle of warmth and quiet breathing. The fire settles lower, purring like a great cat. The honey on your lips begins to cool, turning tacky and sweet, sealing the night's kindness against your skin. No one speaks. There is no need. The tiny golden axe rests against your palm like a second heartbeat, smaller, older, and infinitely patient. The fig crumbles between your fingers, releasing one last slow droplet of honey that slides down your wrist and stops just before it falls, a perfect amber bead trembling in the firelight. You were full of fish, of honey, of cedar smoke, of something far older and softer than words. The night has done its work. The boat is whole. The goddess has looked kindly on strangers who stayed long enough to mend what was torn. All that remains is the slow, inevitable brightening at the edge of the world, and the quiet certainty that you will carry these small, warm things, gold, honey, the memory of shoulders against yours, long after the cove forgets your footprints. You walk back along the shore alone, though it never truly feels like alone. The sand is cool now, almost cold, and every step leaves a shallow print that the next slow wave kisses away before you have taken 3 more. Shh, shh. The sea is tidying up after the night, smoothing every trace of the little boat, of the fire, of the circle of quiet men, of your own kneeling body stitching moonlight into sailcloth. By the time the sky begins to pale, nothing will remain except the faint scent of cedar smoke drifting above the cliffs like a last good night. Your bare feet sink and rise, sink and rise, the motion so gentle it feels as though the earth is rocking you the way a mother rocks a child, long after the child has fallen asleep. Cool foam curls around your ankles with each retreating wave, fizzing softly, tingling like champagne against your skin, then sliding away with a satisfied sigh that leaves only the faintest crust of salt behind. The tiny golden axe rests warm against your heart. You have slipped it onto a strand of your own hair and knotted it twice so it lies hidden beneath your cloak, pulsing gently with every beat. The honeyed fig is gone, melted on your tongue, slipped into your blood, become part of the dream you will carry home. Ahead, the 2 great stone horns of the headland rise black against the first blush of rose. Between them, the sky is turning the color of dove wings, of watered wine, of the inside of certain seashells you loved as a child. The moon has slipped away entirely now, leaving only a cool, moist place in the air where it used to be. You can still taste it on your tongue, silver, salt, the faintest trace of pomegranates. A night bird calls once from the cliffs, a long liquid note that falls and vanishes like a dropped pearl. The sound lingers inside your rib cage, soft and round and perfect. You answer without meaning to, a slow exhale that fogs in the cooling air and drifts upward like incense. The path of crushed shells you walked down hours ago is gone. The tide has claimed it, leaving only smooth, glossy sand that mirrors the brightening sky in trembling pastels. You pause where the cove curves. Behind you, the village is already dissolving into ordinary morning, a curl of smoke from an early hearth, the faint cluck of waking hens, the soft creak of a door you will never open. Ahead, the sea stretches wide and empty, its surface beginning to glitter with the first true hints of gold. Somewhere out there, the little boat waits for its boy, sail whole, labyrinth glowing faintly beneath the new day's light. You lift one foot and watch the wave take the print. Another step, another erasure. By the time you reach the place where the path climbs back into the time-scented cliffs, every mark of the night has been kissed away. Only the tiny double axe remains, warm against your heart, and the lingering taste of honey and cedar smoke on the back of your tongue. The eastern sky flares suddenly, one bright sword of rose and gold, and the first ray of sun strikes the water like a bronze needle drawn through dark cloth. The cove blazes for a single heartbeat, then settles into ordinary, breathtaking morning. You stand in it, barefoot, salt-crested, impossibly light, and feel the night fold itself gently around your shoulders one last time before it lets you go. The path upward is waiting. You take it slowly because there is no hurry now. Each step lifts you a little further out of the dream, yet the dream refuses to leave you entirely. It walks inside your skin, warm and quiet and golden, all the way to the cliff top where the wind smells only of thyme and distant bread, and the sea below is already forgetting the shape of your footprints. You stand at the very edge of the cliff path, where the land ends and the sky begins to remember it is day. The wind has turned cool and clean, carrying only the green bite of wild thyme and the faint, far-off promise of baking bread from some village you will never enter. Below you, the cove has become nothing more than a crescent of ordinary sand and ordinary sea, already busy with the small, practical noises of morning. Gulls arguing over scraps, the soft slap of a real boat being pushed into real water, the laughter of a boy who does not yet know how close he came to losing his sail last night. You lift your hand to your heart. The tiny golden double axe is still there, warmed now to the exact temperature of your skin, as though it has always belonged to you. When you breathe in, you feel it rise and fall with you. When you breathe out, it answers with the faintest, almost imperceptible hum, the sound a bee makes inside a flower when it is too content to fly away. The fishermen are gone. Not walked away, gone. The mist that has begun to rise from the warming sea is thick and silver, and it moves like living cloth. One moment you think you see the shape of an old man with lapis bees at his throat. The next, only mist. A shoulder that brushed yours in the night becomes a curl of fog that strokes your cheek and dissolves. A hand that once steadied you on the boat's gunwale is now only cool moisture settling on your eyelashes, like the softest tears you will never need to shed. You do not call after them. There is no need. The night has already said everything there is to say, and it said it in the language of cedar smoke and honey, of bronze needles whispering through sailcloth, of bioluminescence painting bulls and dolphins across the face of the water, the language of silence that was never empty. The mist thickens, sweet with salt, and the faint memory of crushed figs. It folds around you the way the purple cloak once did, heavy, protective, tender. You feel it lift the last of the night's weight from your bones, the last of the day's old ache from behind your eyes. Your shoulders drop another fraction, and the wind accepts the offering, carrying it away over the cliffs and out across the brightening sea. The sun lifts clear of the horizon now, slow, deliberate, impossibly gentle. Its first ray finds the little golden axe against your heart and turns it into a drop of pure fire. Warmth spreads outward in slow circles, pooling in your chest, sliding down your arms, dripping from your fingertips like melted honey. You close your eyes. The light is red and gold behind your lids, pulsing softly, the same rhythm the fishermen's hands used when they mended nets, when they mended you. You breathe in the new morning, and it tastes of nothing but beginning. You breathe out the long night, and it leaves you lighter than air, lighter than gulls, lighter than the mist itself. Somewhere inside the labyrinth you helped reweave has become your own, a quiet spiral at the center of every breath you will ever take again. The mist parts just enough for one last gift, the faintest outline of upraised arms, the Great Mother herself, or perhaps only the shape memory takes when it wants to say, "Thank you." The silhouette lingers, luminous, then melts into ordinary sunlight. You stand there a moment longer, barefoot on warm stone, the tiny golden axe resting over your heart like a second, slower heartbeat. The cove below is empty now, ordinary and perfect. The path behind you leads back to the world that waits with its noise and its hurry and its small, sharp sorrows. You smile, small, secret, utterly unafraid, and turn toward sleep at last. The mist rises to meet you, cool and sweet as a lullaby. You walk into it without looking back, and it closes gently behind you like the softest door that was ever shut on a dream you are finally ready to finish. The golden axe warms, 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 until the warmth is all there is. And you sleep. The wind moves over the cliffs, carrying thyme and salt and the distant laughter of a boy who will never know how close his sail came to staying torn. The sea settles into its daytime blue, vast and ordinary and secretly sacred. The mist drifts inland, thinning, thinning, until it is only the memory of breath on a morning that has already forgotten your name. But inside your chest, something small and golden keeps beating, slow and steady and forever. Sweet dreams, my friend. The labyrinth is whole. You are home. The light behind your eyelids softens to the color of warm milk. Every breath you take now is slower than the one before, deeper, heavier, sweeter. The tiny axe has dissolved into pure warmth. There is no edge left, only a gentle, glowing circle that widens and widens until it fills your whole chest, your whole body, the whole quiet room where you lie. The scent of cedar and honey lingers in the back of your throat like the last note of a lullaby you never want to end. Your fingers uncurl against the sheets. Even they feel heavier, looser, as though the night itself tucked them in. Let the warmth spread down your arms, pooling in your elbows, dripping from your wrists like honey that will never cool. Let it slide into your hips, your knees, the soles of your feet, until every part of you is floating inside the same slow tide that rocked the little boat at dawn. There is nothing left to mend. There is nothing left to carry. The sea is breathing for you now, long, gentle, endless. In, out, in, out. Each wave carries you a little further from the shore of waking. The gulls have quieted. The mist has become the softest blanket ever woven from moonlight and salt and forgiveness. You are drifting. You are safe. You are carried. And when morning finally comes, real morning, with its ordinary light and ordinary noises, you will open your eyes rested, lighter, the tiny golden warmth still resting quiet against your heart like a promise kept while you slept. For now, only this, the slow tidal breathing of the world, the faint moisture hush of waves that never really left your ears, and the gentle, inevitable sinking into the deepest, kindest sleep you have ever been given. Good night, my dear one. The goddess is watching. The labyrinth is whole. You may let go. End of story. Sweet dreams.